In today's world, where everyone seems eager to speak, argue, and respond instantly, silence has often been misunderstood. People sometimes mistake it for weakness. They assume that if you don't reply immediately, if you don't defend yourself at once, or if you don't raise your voice to prove a point, then you are powerless. But the truth is the complete opposite. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strength. Silence is a conscious choice. It is the ability to control your emotions, your words, and your reactions when everything around you is pushing you to lose control. Think about it. Anyone can react in the heat of the moment. It takes no effort to lash out when you are angry, to defend yourself when you feel attacked, or to argue when someone provokes you. That is easy. But it takes a powerful person, someone with true discipline, to remain still, to hold their ground, and to say, I will not be controlled by this situation. I will not give my energy away. Silence in that moment is not giving up. It is standing taller than the storm that is trying to knock you down. When you choose silence, you are choosing wisdom over impulse. You are reminding yourself that words, once spoken, cannot be taken back. Silence gives you time to breathe, to evaluate, and to decide whether something is even worth your energy. Most of the conflicts we face in life are fueled not by what happens to us, but by how we respond. And most of the regrets people carry are tied to things they said in anger, in fear, or in haste. By choosing silence, you avoid regrets, you avoid unnecessary battles, and you protect your peace. That is not weakness. That is power in its purest form. Imagine two people in a heated argument. One is shouting, throwing insults, trying to dominate the moment. The other is calm, quiet, simply observing. Who really looks stronger? The one who has lost control of their emotions, or the one who refuses to be dragged down into the chaos? The person who chooses silence does not lose, they win, because they keep their dignity intact. They maintain their balance. They show that their self-worth does not depend on proving themselves to others. That is true confidence. Silence also teaches you emotional discipline. It forces you to sit with your feelings rather than releasing them recklessly. When you are angry, silence gives you a chance to cool down. When you are sad, silence allows you to reflect instead of drowning in noise. When you are provoked, silence prevents you from being manipulated. It acts as a shield against those who want to push your buttons. By remaining silent, you show that you cannot be easily moved, you cannot be easily broken, and you cannot be controlled. That is real power, being in charge of yourself. There is another layer to silence that most people overlook. It is a sign of maturity. When you're young or inexperienced, you think the loudest person is the strongest. You think the one with the sharpest comebacks, the one who always has to get the last word, is winning. But as you grow, you begin to realize that strength is not about volume. Strength is about restraint. It is about knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you are wise enough to know that not everything needs to be said. It means you value peace over pride. Choosing silence also frees you. You no longer carry the burden of defending yourself against every criticism or every negative opinion. You stop being a prisoner of people's expectations and judgments. Instead, you rise above them. You live with the quiet confidence that you don't need to explain yourself to everyone because your actions will speak louder than your words ever could. Silence allows you to let go of the need for validation, and in doing so, you gain freedom. Let me tell you something important. Silence is not emptiness. It is full of power. In silence, you gain clarity. In silence, you hear your own thoughts more clearly. In silence, you discover solutions that noise drowns out. That is why many great leaders, thinkers, and visionaries valued moments of silence. They knew that wisdom is not born in chaos, but in calmness. And calmness only comes when you are willing to step back, detach, and stay quiet until the right words and the right actions reveal themselves. So the next time you feel pressure to respond instantly, to fight back, or to prove yourself, remember this: silence is not weakness. It is the loudest demonstration of self-control. It is a reminder that you don't need to meet anger with anger, insult with insult, or noise with more noise. You are stronger than that. By choosing silence, you are choosing yourself. You are choosing your peace, your dignity, and your power. When the world pushes you to react, dare to pause. When people provoke you, dare to remain still. And when your emotions want to explode, dare to hold back. That is where your true power lies, in the silence you choose, not the noise you make, because silence, when mastered, becomes a shield, a strength, and a statement all at once. And in that silence, you discover that the strongest voice is often the one that does not need to speak at all. So often, we think of detachment as coldness, as if being detached means we no longer care about the people in our lives or the things that matter to us. But real emotional detachment is not about shutting down your heart. It is not about becoming distant, unfeeling, or disconnected. True detachment is about finding balance. It is about caring without clinging, loving without losing yourself, and engaging with the world without letting it control your inner peace. Every day, life tests us. People disappoint us. Situations don't go our way, and unexpected problems appear without warning. Our natural response is to get caught up in it all, to let anger rise, to let stress consume us, to let sadness weigh us down. But when you learn the art of detachment, you begin to understand that while you cannot control everything around you, you can always control what is inside you. Detachment gives you the power to experience emotions without becoming enslaved by them. It gives you the ability to step back and say, "This may affect my circumstances, but it will not define my state of mind." Think about how much energy we lose when we let emotions dictate our actions. One insult can ruin your whole day if you allow it. One setback can make you feel worthless if you let it. One betrayal can make you distrust the whole world if you choose to hold on to the pain. But detachment teaches you a different way. It says you don't have to surrender your peace to every passing emotion. You don't have to give your power away to circumstances you cannot control. You can observe the emotion, you can acknowledge it, but you don't have to let it take over your soul. Detachment is not avoidance. It is not pretending that you don't feel anything. It is not ignoring reality. It is awareness with control. It is the conscious decision to feel without being consumed, to acknowledge without being ruled, to care without being crushed. When you detach, you do not stop caring. You start caring wisely. You learn to invest your energy where it matters most, and you stop wasting it on battles that do not deserve you. Picture yourself standing in a river. The water is rushing all around you. If you let yourself get carried away by every current, you will be dragged downstream, exhausted and lost. But if you stand firm, grounded, and detached, the water still flows, but it doesn't sweep you away. Emotions are like that river. Detachment doesn't stop the current. It simply prevents you from drowning in it. And here is the beauty of detachment. It gives you clarity. When you are too attached, your vision is clouded. You react blindly. You chase outcomes desperately. You cling to things that were never meant for you. But when you let go, when you detach, your mind becomes calm, your perspective widens, and you begin to see things for what they really are. You stop forcing and you start flowing, you stop controlling and you start trusting. And in that space of calm, better decisions are made, wiser actions are taken, and peace becomes your natural state. This is not easy. Our instinct as human beings is to cling to people, to cling to outcomes, to cling to control. But detachment asks us to rise above instinct. It asks us to realize that nothing outside of us should have the power to destroy the peace inside us. It teaches us that we can care deeply, but also let go gracefully, that we can give our best effort, but also accept whatever result comes with calmness, that we can love others fully, but also understand that we cannot control their choices, their actions, or their journey. When you practice detachment, you free yourself from emotional chains. You stop being at the mercy of every word, every mood, every situation. You become steady like a mountain unmoved by passing winds. And people will notice this about you. They will see that while the world around you shifts and shakes, you remain centered. They will see that your calmness is not a lack of passion, but a presence of wisdom. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most at peace. Weren't those the times when you let go of the need to control everything? When you stopped fighting reality and simply accepted it as it was? That is the essence of detachment. Acceptance without surrendering your strength, calmness without losing your care, and wisdom without losing your humanity. The greatest gift detachment gives you is freedom. Freedom from the grip of overthinking. Freedom from the prison of other people's opinions. Freedom from the weight of expectations and disappointments. It allows you to live lighter, love deeper, and breathe easier. It allows you to give without fear of loss, to try without fear of failure, and to hope without fear of disappointment. Because you know that no matter what happens around you, your inner world remains steady and untouched. So when life challenges you, when people test your patience, when situations shake your ground, remind yourself, I can care, but I do not have to cling. I can feel, but I do not have to drown. I can give, but I do not have to lose myself. That is the true strength of detachment. It is not about removing yourself from life. It is about stepping fully into life with a calm heart, a steady mind, and a spirit that is unshakable. And that is how you protect your peace, no matter what storms may come. Life moves fast, and so often we feel pressured to respond to everything instantly. Someone insults us, and we rush to defend ourselves. A challenge appears and we react without thinking. A difficult situation arises and we allow our emotions to lead us before reason ever has a chance to speak. But in every moment between what happens to us and how we respond, there exists a small but powerful space. That space is the pause, and in that pause lies our greatest strength. The pause is not empty. It is full of possibility. It is the place where emotions settle and wisdom rises. It is the moment where we get to choose whether to react with anger, fear, or frustration, or to respond with calmness, clarity, and control. The pause is what separates impulse from intention. Without it, we are slaves to our emotions. With it, we become masters of ourselves. Think of the last time you reacted without pausing. Maybe someone said something hurtful and you snapped back instantly, only to regret your words later. Maybe you rushed into a decision out of fear or pressure, and you realized afterward that patience would have led you to a better choice. That regret, that heaviness comes from skipping the pause. But think of a time when you held yourself back, when you breathed deeply before answering, when you waited just a little longer before deciding. How much more powerful did you feel in that moment? That was the pause protecting you. The pause does not make you weak, it makes you wise. It does not mean you are avoiding action, it means you are choosing the right action. People often confuse speed with strength, but speed without thought is recklessness. True strength is being able to stop, to wait, to think, and then to act with intention. The pause gives you that power. It is like a musician playing a song. Without pauses, the music becomes noise. It is the spaces between the notes that give the melody beauty and meaning. In the same way, it is the pauses between life's challenges and our responses that give our actions meaning and depth. If we fill every moment with instant reaction, we create noise. But when we pause, when we allow space for silence, our responses become like music, measured, meaningful, and impactful. The pause is also a form of self-respect. It is telling yourself that your peace is more important than proving a point, that your dignity is more valuable than winning an argument. When you pause, you are saying, I will not be dragged into chaos. I will not let my emotions control me. I will not give away my power to this moment. That decision to hold, to breathe, to wait makes you stronger than any angry outburst ever could. But let us be honest, pausing is hard. The human mind is wired to react quickly. Our emotions rise instantly and they demand release. It takes discipline to stop yourself, to hold your tongue when you want to lash out, to stay still when everything inside you is pushing you to act. Yet that is where growth happens. Every time you choose to pause, you are training your mind. You are building resilience. You are proving to yourself that you are not a prisoner of your impulses, but the master of your responses. And the pause is not only useful in conflict, it applies to every aspect of life. In relationships, pausing before you speak can prevent unnecessary hurt. In work, pausing before you decide can save you from costly mistakes. In personal struggles, pausing before you give up can remind you that strength is still within you. The pause allows wisdom to catch up with emotion. It gives you space to remember who you are and what truly matters. Some of the greatest leaders and thinkers in history were not the ones who spoke first, but the ones who paused, who listened, who waited, and then spoke with clarity. Their strength was not in rushing, but in holding back until the right words or the right actions revealed themselves. That is why their voices carried weight, because their silence gave their words power. The pause is also a gift you give to others. When someone is upset, your pause shows them that you are listening, that you are not rushing to defend yourself or judge them. It diffuses tension. It disarms conflict. It creates space for understanding. In a world where everyone wants to speak, the one who pauses to listen becomes the one who leads. And perhaps most importantly, the pause is a gift you give yourself. It allows you to protect your energy, to choose peace over turmoil, and to act from strength instead of weakness. It reminds you that you are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you choose to respond. And every pause you take strengthens your ability to remain calm, to remain centered, and to remain powerful no matter what life throws your way. So the next time your emotions rise quickly, when anger tries to grab hold of your tongue, when fear tries to dictate your decisions, when pressure tries to push you into action, pause, breathe, wait. Even a few seconds of silence can transform the outcome of a situation. Even a small moment of stillness can prevent regret and open the door to wisdom. The pause is not just a gap in time. It is the birthplace of your best self. It is where calmness lives, where strength grows, and where true power begins. And if you can master the pause, you can master your life. In a world overflowing with noise, silence is often underestimated. We live in constant motion, surrounded by conversations, social media updates, breaking news, and endless distractions. Our minds are flooded with voices, other people's opinions, our own anxieties, and the pressure to always respond, always react, always keep up. But silence offers us something that noise never can: space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to reflect. And it is in that space that we find answers, wisdom, and peace. When you choose silence, you are not doing nothing. You are doing the most powerful thing you can: listening. Listening to your own heart. Listening to your intuition. Listening to the truth that is often drowned out by the chaos of daily life. Noise reacts. Silence reflects. Noise demands. Silence observes. Noise scatters. Silence gathers. Reflection is only possible when you quiet the world around you long enough to hear what is happening within you. Consider how often we rush through life without ever stopping to pause and reflect. We get caught in cycles, working, reacting, striving, speaking, without asking ourselves if we are moving in the right direction. We respond to people out of habit. We make decisions based on impulse, and we allow emotions to carry us forward like waves without steering our own course. But silence gives us back the wheel. In silence, you begin to notice patterns. You begin to see the bigger picture. You begin to realize what is truly important and what is simply noise. Silence does not come naturally in a world that glorifies noise. People often mistake silence for weakness or inaction, but those who embrace silence know the opposite is true. Silence is where you recharge. Silence is where you reset. Silence is where you prepare yourself to step back into the world with clarity and strength. Reflection cannot happen when your mind is cluttered with chatter. It can only happen when you allow yourself to sit in stillness and create room for thought. Think of silence as a mirror. When you are still, the surface of your mind becomes calm, like a quiet lake. And just like a calm lake reflects the sky, a calm mind reflects the truth. In noise, the water is disturbed, rippled, distorted. You cannot see clearly. But in silence, clarity appears. That is why silence is not empty. It is full of answers waiting to rise to the surface. Many of the greatest thinkers, leaders, and creators in history valued silence. They would retreat from the world not to escape it, but to reflect on it more deeply. They knew that wisdom is not born in constant chatter, but in intentional quiet. They understood that silence sharpens the mind, strengthens the spirit, and deepens the heart. Reflection allows you to process your experiences, to learn from your mistakes, and to prepare for better decisions. Without silence, you miss the lesson. With silence, you find the meaning. And silence is not just for grand moments of decision. It is valuable in the everyday moments too. When you are in conflict, silence allows you to step back and ask, what is really happening here? Is this worth my energy? Is this about them? Or is this about me? When you face disappointment, silence gives you time to accept, to grieve, to heal, instead of covering it up with endless distractions. When you are overwhelmed, silence gives your mind a chance to breathe, to sort through the chaos, and to find a way forward. In relationships, silence also carries power. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is not to respond quickly, but to listen quietly. Silence creates space for understanding. It shows respect. It shows patience. It prevents words spoken in haste from causing wounds that take years to heal. In silence, you hear not only what others are saying, but what they are not saying. Reflection deepens connection. Silence also allows you to hear your own inner voice. Too often, we let the world tell us what to think, what to want, who to be. But in silence, you reconnect with yourself. You remember your own values, your own dreams, your own truth. You stop being pulled in every direction by external noise, and you start listening to the quiet guidance within you. That guidance is always there. It just needs silence to be heard. But silence requires courage. It is easier to fill the void with noise than to sit alone with your thoughts. Silence forces you to face yourself. It brings up truths that noise helps you avoid. It makes you ask questions you may not be ready to answer. Yet this is why silence is so powerful. It shows you the reality that you need to see, even when it is uncomfortable. And in seeing that reality, you gain the power to change it. The practice of silence and reflection is not about withdrawing from life. It is about engaging with life more fully, more wisely, and more intentionally. It is about creating space between action and reaction, between event and meaning, between chaos and calm. It is in this space that we grow. It is in this space that we rise above the noise and begin to live with clarity and purpose. So choose silence. Not because you have nothing to say, but because silence allows you to say the right things at the right time. Not because you are weak, but because silence makes you stronger. Not because you want to escape life, but because silence helps you live it with more depth and meaning. And when you do, you will discover that silence is not just the absence of noise, it is the presence of wisdom, reflection, and peace. There is something extraordinary about calmness. When you enter a room full of chaos, full of tension, full of noise, and someone sits quietly, steady, and unshaken, everyone notices. Their calmness doesn't just protect them, it spreads. It changes the energy of the space. Calmness is not only strength for yourself, it is a gift to everyone around you. Just as anger spreads like fire, calmness spreads like light. And in a world where people are constantly rushing, shouting, and reacting, calmness is rare enough to feel almost magical. Think about the last time you were in a stressful situation. Maybe a disagreement at work, a family argument, or even a crisis where panic was in the air. Who stood out? Was it the person shouting the loudest or the one who remained steady, composed, and thoughtful? Chances are you remember the calm person. You trusted them more. You felt safer because they weren't adding fuel to the fire. Their presence gave you confidence that everything would be okay. That is the power of calmness. It reassures, it stabilizes, and it inspires. We often underestimate how much our energy influences others. Walk into a room with fear, and you'll spread fear. Walk in with anger, and you'll spread anger. Walk in with calm, and suddenly people begin to breathe easier. They slow down, they listen more carefully, and they feel more grounded. Calmness disarms conflict because it does not feed it. When someone is yelling and you respond with silence and steadiness, you take the power away from their anger. You show them that they cannot pull you into their storm. And slowly, often without realizing it, they begin to mirror your calm. This is why calmness is leadership. True leaders are not the ones who lose control when challenges arise. They are the ones who remain steady. Their calm is contagious, and people look to them not just for solutions, but for strength. A calm leader inspires trust because they show they are not easily shaken. They show that even when problems come, they will not collapse under pressure. And in seeing this, others begin to believe that they too can rise above the storm. Calmness also creates space for better decisions. When everyone else is reacting, a calm person is reflecting. When others are rushing, a calm person is observing. And in that observation, in that pause, clarity appears. People are drawn to those who can see clearly when others cannot. They gravitate to the calm voice in the room because it cuts through the noise. Calmness becomes a beacon that guides others out of panic and into purpose. But calmness is not only for leaders, it is for every one of us. In your relationships, calmness can turn arguments into conversations. In your workplace, calmness can turn stress into solutions. In your personal life, calmness can turn chaos into clarity. Every time you choose calmness, you create a ripple effect. You may not even notice it, but others feel it. A friend feels safe opening up to you. A colleague feels encouraged to slow down and think. A child feels reassured because your presence tells them they are protected. Calmness doesn't only belong to you. It belongs to everyone who experiences it through you. And here is something important. Calmness is not about pretending. It is not about suppressing emotions or acting unaffected when you are hurting inside. Real calmness comes from within. It comes from the decision that no matter what is happening outside, you will not allow it to destroy your peace inside. Calmness is the fruit of self-mastery. It is built when you practice silence, when you detach from unnecessary drama, when you pause instead of reacting. The more you cultivate these practices, the more natural your calmness becomes, and the more it radiates to others. The world does not need more noise. It does not need more people shouting their opinions louder. It needs more calm voices. It needs people who can walk into conflict and bring peace, who can walk into chaos and bring order, who can walk into fear and bring reassurance. When you become that person, you are no longer just living for yourself. You are serving others. You are showing them what is possible when you choose to remain steady, even when the storm is raging. Calmness also protects relationships. Anger, spoken in a moment, can cause wounds that last a lifetime. But calmness holds space for listening, for understanding, for healing. When you stay calm in the face of conflict, you prevent escalation. You keep the door open for resolution. You show the other person that you value peace more than winning, and that choice often inspires them to soften as well. And let us not forget, calmness is attractive. People are drawn to those who radiate peace. In friendships, in love, in work, in leadership, people want to be near those who make them feel safe, grounded, and steady. Calmness is a magnet because it is rare. Anyone can be loud, but not everyone can be calm, and that rarity makes it powerful. So never underestimate the influence of your calm. It may seem small, a deep breath instead of a sharp reply, a pause instead of a rush to judgment, a quiet presence instead of adding to the noise. But these small choices ripple outward. They change the tone of conversations, the energy of rooms, the outcome of situations. Calmness is contagious, and every time you choose it, you are spreading strength, wisdom, and peace into the world. The next time chaos comes, remember this: you have the power to bring calm. You don't have to join the noise. You don't have to match the energy of anger or fear. Instead, you can stand firm, you can remain steady, and you can be the light that others lean on. Because calmness is not just for you, it is for everyone who needs your presence as a reminder that storms can pass, peace can prevail, and strength can be quiet. True strength is not always loud. It is not always about raising your voice, proving your point, or showing your power in obvious ways. Sometimes true strength is quiet. It is steady. It is unshakable. Mastering silence is one of the most powerful tools you can ever have, because when you master silence, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, you become unstoppable. Storms are loud, anger is loud, fear is loud, noise is everywhere, but noise does not last. It comes and it goes, and when it is gone, often all that is left is regret, exhaustion, and emptiness. But silence endures. Silence holds. Silence carries weight. When you choose silence in the face of chaos, you are saying to the world, I am not shaken. I am not controlled by this moment. I am bigger than the noise around me. That kind of strength cannot be broken because it does not depend on the outside world. It comes from within. To master silence is to master restraint. It is to understand that you do not have to answer every insult. You do not have to react to every provocation, and you do not have to prove yourself in every battle. Most battles are distractions anyway. Most conflicts are designed to drain your energy and steal your peace. But when you are silent, you rise above them. You choose not to waste your power where it does not belong. And in doing so, you keep your strength for the battles that actually matter. Silence is also a weapon of dignity. When someone is trying to provoke you, they are feeding off your reaction. The moment you give them what they want, your anger, your words, your energy, you have already surrendered your power. But when you remain silent, when you refuse to be dragged into their chaos, you keep your dignity intact. You show them that their noise has no hold over you. And that kind of silence cuts deeper than any reply ever could. It is not weakness. It is dominance. But mastering silence does not mean you never speak. It means you learn the art of timing. You learn that not every moment requires your voice. You save your words for when they matter most. And when you do speak, your words carry greater weight because they come from a place of thought, reflection, and calm. A person who speaks all the time eventually loses impact. But a person who speaks rarely and only after silence commands attention. People lean in, they listen, they know your words mean something. That is the power silence gives you. It makes your voice stronger when you finally use it. Silence is also the foundation of inner peace. When you live in noise, both around you and within you, it is easy to lose yourself. You chase every opinion, you react to every situation, you drown in every wave of emotion, but silence is your anchor. It centers you. It reminds you that peace is not found in controlling the world outside. It is found in mastering the world inside. And once you have that inner silence, the storms of life cannot break you. You may bend, but you will not fall. You may feel the wind, but you will not be carried away. You stand steady because your silence has made you strong. To master silence is to master detachment. It is knowing that you do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. It is realizing that your energy is precious and not everyone deserves access to it. It is the decision to remain unbothered even when the world tries to shake you. And when you live this way, you discover a kind of freedom most people never find. You are no longer controlled by others. You are controlled only by yourself. That is power. That is freedom. That is what makes you unstoppable. And here is the beautiful part. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. In silence, you hear your own intuition. You see the bigger picture. You understand what truly matters and what is just noise. Silence gives you clarity that noise never can. And clarity is what makes you strong, because it allows you to act with purpose instead of impulse. It allows you to move with intention instead of reaction. It allows you to live as the master of your life instead of the servant of your emotions. People may underestimate silence, but the wisest ones know it is the most powerful stance you can take. It makes you unpredictable. It makes you untouchable. Because when you do not react like everyone else, when you do not rush into battles, when you do not let your emotions control you, no one knows your next move. And that unpredictability, that control, makes you powerful beyond measure. So remember this. Mastering silence is not about saying nothing. It is about saying everything without words. It is about showing strength without aggression, dignity without argument, and confidence without noise. It is about standing so firm in your peace that nothing outside of you can shake it. And when you reach that level of mastery, you become unstoppable. Because storms may come, people may provoke, challenges may rise, but you will not be moved. You will not be broken. You will not be controlled. Your silence will speak louder than words, and your calm will shine brighter than chaos. That is true power. That is freedom. And that is what makes you unstoppable.